when we think about anything we buy, it's quite incredible that the language that we use, it never strikes us that there's capacity building in everything. So when you buy shampoo, you don't ask what is Sanjeev Mehta's salary component in it, how much has Hindustan Lever spent, doing R&D, what is the marketing cost. You think about whether it's a good service, product, same for medicines, same for an automobile. And therefore, Archana and I found it really unusual that suddenly the same donors who come from the corporate world, when it came to giving money for something which was far more important than putting shampoo in your head, suddenly wanted to figure out what the non-program expense of an organization was. And so, the journey really began from there, which is we said, okay, we will just start making non-program expenses. Till then, we were writing program checks. But soon we realized that the better gig was actually to concentrate that in fewer organizations and figure out what the learnings from that are. And then to share those learnings, have those organizations be, as a term Bikrama used, exemplars, and share those learnings with the wider set of folks. And importantly, also strengthen organizations like ILSS, who could basically build some of these practices. So a lot of what I'm going to just share with you right now actually comes from all those lived experiences, doesn't come from any genius. What we have learned over the years is actually very simple. There are 6 things that really matter. Those six things are on this page. All of you are leaders, and all of you would have faced, one of these 6 things at some point of time in your journey, and in all probability, all of them 6 at some point. And I can tell you without doubt that if you do a good job, and Priya talked about, what she focused on at the early part of her journey. Viren talked about, things that he focused on at some parts of his journey. If you get these things right, you don't need to get them all right at the same point of time. You will actually build a extremely impactful organization. So these are the 6 things we realized really mattered, and our journey has been about figuring out how to, advocate the right practices and build institutions which can actually support each one of these. I'm going to talk about 4 examples very quickly. Priya talked about Antarang. I always knew Priya was a very thoughtful, impactful leader. I used to chair an organization called Akanksha, and she was one of our vertical heads. But what she's done at Antarang is incredible. And one of the interesting things is actually the inflection point at Antarang. If you look at, it took a long time, and Viren talked about it takes a long time to get things right. But then when you combine that long experience with the right investments, magic actually happens. And so you see that magic actually happening at some point of time, just around 2000, between 2016 and 2020, when they started investing in some of the things that she talked about. You have to have clarity on the model. I think everyone talked about that. But then once you have that, going in and investing in the muscle for change really sets you up for scale is the lesson. And then 2 other organizations. Archana hates public speaking and never talks about the work that she's done. It's in the deeply underserved area, intellectual disabilities. The organization predates Indian independence, but they started making the right investments. You can see, just about 5 or 6 years ago, and today they are the national organization writing curriculum for pan India. They're working across multiple states, and it's basically, if you look at OGQ, and organization that I simply love, not just because of Viren, because at the end of the day, every time our flag goes up, it makes you feel really proud. And OGQ has accounted for more than half the medals that we win since they got up and running. And you look at the things that they have done in 3 important areas: investing in leadership, building a strong board, and then investing in fundraising muscle. Both these organizations are exemplars of that, and we've got a whole bunch of others, and we put case studies out on them. But this is what we want to say, that this is actually science. There's data which shows what you need to do to basically get to the next level. The third point I want to leave you with is fundraising is actually as much a science as it is art. And, I want to thank ILSS and Anu and her team for that. But, we started investing in fundraising uh, as a muscle well over a decade ago. Deepa, standing in the last row, has been our partner in crime in that. And we went back and looked at the cohort of NGOs we had invested in for over a decade and what had actually happened. Were these investments productive? Were they not productive? And it's really interesting. We realized that there's actually a very compelling ROI investment on fundraising. Viren talked about the return on Neha's investment, but we have seen this now in NGO after NGO. You invest in a person, rarely does it take more than 4 or 6 months for that person to pay for herself many times over. The budget growth that these organizations that invest strategically in fundraising is mind-boggling. They grow at twice or thrice the sector rate. Their donor pool increases massively. Their donor retention rates are off the line. And most importantly, while it's important for CEOs to focus on fundraising, it's not the core of what they do. They're really good at doing the things that these three people do, which is the core of the program. In case of Viren working with AmeriCom, or in case of Archana working with the kids, and that's what I think is very important. So I'll leave you with these 5 messages. I'm not going to go into them, but for anyone who's interested, we'll put this up on our website as well. These 5 things are the lessons that we've learned over the years. Capacity building is very much a science. Imbibe it in the work that you do, and you will undoubtedly see magic happens. I want to call out Pay What It Takes, which is a very important initiative Britspan has basically brought in, which basically shows that investments which actually, organizations which do this, they inflect. They see significant increase in everything that they do. But we need to do this a lot more. Even today, if you look at donors, unfortunately, donors are not aware. Not every organization's donors have reached the point that OGQ's donors have reached. But for that, the most important thing is we got to ask. We realized this long time ago. Gayatri's in the last row, and I remember that conversation in Lonavala where we pushed people, and a lot of people said, we don't want to ask people. People will say no, but more often than not, they say yes, is the lesson that we've learned. So please ask people. They become aware. Some of them start the journey, the others follow. So that's my final slide for you. For NGOs, please focus, please plan, please measure. Measurement is not for your donors. Measurement is for yourself. Unless you measure, you cannot improve. My wife reminds me that every time I get onto the weighing scale in the morning. And please ask. Please ask. For funders, for anyone in the room, engage and understand this, appreciate how important it is for capacity building to be able to grow, understand how it can inflect organization, and please invest in it. I think 10% is a bare minimum. In most cases, you need a lot more. If we do this, we make it a sector norm, we'll see a very, very different India than we today see. Thank you so much.